We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's special show, we'll be examining the fallout of the 2023 elections and how those will impact the 2024 Big Show election. We've got some great guests lined up for you. It's going to be quite the show. Thanks for joining us, and let's dive right in. As the dust settles after the 2023 off-year elections, who's left to pick up the pieces? What does it all mean? Who won and who lost beyond the headline numbers? Well, we're very fortunate to have with us today Liberty Nation's senior political analyst and longtime host of this here radio show, Mr. Tim Donner. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Always great to be with you, Mark.
So, Tim, we both poured over the results, and I don't think they're as cut and dry as the headlines in the newspapers made out. What's your takeaway? What's your big takeaways from these election results?
Seems to me that it was a single issue election, Mark, a single issue election, and that was abortion, because everywhere that it was either on the ballot or was supported by someone trying to whip up legislatures to support his vision, like in Virginia, of a 15-week ban. I think that's really the summary of the 2023 election. It was all abortion all the time, because that seemed to be most on the minds of the voters. But it doesn't accrue to Joe Biden's benefit other than incidentally, because he happens to be on the side that, let's put it this way, the side that has been clear and unambiguous and has been able to reflect that lack of ambiguity about the abortion issue. The other side has struggled to define it. So the problem is for Republicans in the 2023 elections is that the issues that are likely to be most influential in 2024, likely the war and the economy, multiple wars and the economy, really were not in play in 2023. So the issue becomes yet a third major unknown for the 2024 election. One of them, and they're all unprecedented, that's why they're unknown. Number one,
the unknown unknowns.
The unknown. These are the known unknowns, actually. Number one, Biden's age. Nobody has tried to run for president in, shall we say, the condition that Joe Biden is in. Really, what he's got going for him is just incumbency. But that's a huge unknown, because we've never seen that happen before. We also have never seen a presidential candidate under not one, but 4 indictments as he is running for president. How the electorate reacts to that is almost impossible to gauge. And now we have a third unknown, which is the extent to which abortion can mitigate effects on Joe Biden and the Democrats that we've seen in 2 shocking polls by CNN and the New York Times, which show Biden in deep trouble. Can abortion save him in 2024 becomes a question.
You know, I think those polls are pretty damning in terms of what they say, because you rightly point out 4 cases of 4 indictments totaling 90 felonies. More than 90 felonies, I believe. And yet you have a lot of pundits on the left, for example, Mehdi Hassan of MSNBC, who said he can't understand why Joe Biden is not trouncing Donald Trump in polls. And it reminds me, and I can't remember who it was, but it's somebody talking about Richard Nixon's election, and I think she was a reporter, and she says, I don't understand because nobody I know is voted for Richard Nixon.
People who are in the ghetto of the Upper West Side in New York, they never met anybody who's pro-life. They never met anybody who's voted Republican. I don't think they even know anybody who's had a Republican to their home,
Yeah.
and in the liberal or left wing elite. So it's they've got that single issue going for them, and there's so many unknowns in this 2024 election, not the least of which are Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And here is a shocking truth that was not headlined, Mark, but should have been. Among voters below the age of 45 in the CNN poll, voters below the age of 45, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. beats both Trump and Biden.
Yeah.
Now, there's a wake-up call for Joe Biden, to some degree for Trump, but mostly for Biden, because there's been a lot of talk about how Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will actually take votes from Trump, but I'm not so sure about that, given that Biden got huge support from young people in 2020, and there's just zero enthusiasm now. In fact, I'll give you the numbers.
I was about to try and remember the numbers. Let's see if I get this right. In 2020, more than 60% of 18 to 29-year-olds voted Joe Biden. Is that correct?
Let's take it by margins of victory. In 2020, Joe Biden won the non-white under 45 vote over Trump by a margin of 39%. Right now, in the latest poll, 6%. As I put in my column on libertynation.com, that is nothing less than a cataclysmic descent for Joe Biden. A Democrat.
There's all these new people who ain't black anymore.
Yeah.
Tim.
Well, and Trump is at 22% among black voters. If that's not a wake-up call, too. So I think for Democrats, it's a matter of, do they really want to just ride out the abortion issue and make that the single issue that they try to run on? And here's what they can do, Mark. They can force referenda in critical battleground states directly on the issue of abortion, which will permit them to get greater turnout among the abortionists who see the Democrats as uniquely able to save their right to terminate a pregnancy.
Yes, but by having these referenda issues fall on the same day as the election, it almost generates not just newsworthy headlines. It's like a David and Goliath battle, but out of perspective, if you know what I mean, because the money is all going to the one side.
I was going to say, well, here's a third thing that we've never had before, really, and that is abortion on the ballot in a presidential election. Right? We've had it. We've had referendum over the years, since the Casey decision, and of course Roe versus Wade. But we have never had a presidential election where abortion is anything but maybe a minor issue. The question is how major it is for 2024, because the Democrats better hope that it is about as major as 2023. If it is, I think Biden gets a huge boost from it. If people vote instead on the economy and the war and the border and crime, then it's hard to see how Biden really can win. Looking at these polls, 2 polls in a row showing Trump 4 points ahead of Biden nationally. That should send red lights flashing on the left. There's no talking around that.
That is an emergency in Washington, D.C.
That's a break the glass moment. Yeah. And I think they didn't anticipate that the country, simply because it was Trump on the other side, that the country would just swallow whatever Joe Biden had to offer because of the alternative was so unthinkable. Well, they're going to have to reconsider their entire strategy.
You say it's a break the glass moment. Well, fortunately, the Democrats do have a Representative Jamal Bowman to deal with that for him. Now, we're going to be right back with Tim Donner after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking and free speech at libertynation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are libertynation.com.